Hey YouTube! In this video that you are about to watch, I'm actually going to be showing you how I budget. This is going to be for the month of June, which it's July when this is going up, but it is recorded for the month of June so that you can see how I write my budget at the end of the month and keep up with it throughout the month and find my savings at the end of the month. And I'm just going to do this with a pen and a piece of paper. That way I can show you a simple way to do it. Now, this is the way I do it. That doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean it's the technical way or anything like that. But it's just to show you that you can keep up with your money. Whether it's this much, that much, however much it is, you can keep up with it and you don't have to have some complicated way of organizing it. You can just do it simply and that's fine too. And you can still save and it can still work. Towards the fall, I might do an updated version when the school year officially starts. And just because there might be different things that come up, say during the working year versus the summer, such as gas might be more the miscellaneous things I'm doing now. I'll be more in a routine then. And I am going to make an Excel spreadsheet that I can print out to have a template. I'm a pen and paper person. I like to write this stuff down to help me keep up with it, but I also want to be able to input it in. That way I can track that data as well long term. That's a personal goal. I'm going to share that with y'all, but let me go ahead and show you what I do each month now. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this view where you can see it, and we're going to go through the budget. These aren't going to be exact numbers that I really used this month per se. It's just going to be an estimate to show you how I do it. So what I always do is I start at the top and I'm going to try and look on the camera and see what I'm writing. Hopefully this works. I will write, okay, that this is the month of June, and I get paid on the last day of each month, just once a month, so it actually works out really well because whatever I get that last day, I know that's what I have for the following month. And even though the goal is to save and not spend it all and all of these different things, it makes it very easy to keep up with in my mind. So I'm just going to round, but we'll say that it's $2,000. It's not exactly that, it's a little bit lower, but for the sake of this exercise, I'll just round it to show you. So then after I do that, I write my big things at the top to keep up with. So those are going to be my house payment, because that is kind of a big deal, my utilities, and my groceries. Because basically these are the main things that we spend money on. So I'm just going to fill those out first. After that, I go ahead and in that top line, I write what is budgeted for each of those categories. Now, when we did my house budget, we actually figured, my dad and I, that it would be a little higher than it actually is. But we budgeted for $532.58. It's actually only $502.77 a month. But I go ahead and write out the original budget for more because it helps keep me honest. And then when I have that little bit left over each month, it makes me feel good anyway. But I also go ahead and I'm going to write this in red. It comes out on auto draft on the 24th. So with my spending the rest of the month, I have to keep that in mind, because if I get paid May 30th, then I have till the 24th of June that I've got to make sure that I have this much money in the account ready to auto draft. That's never been a problem before because I've been saving up for a while, but it's good to keep these things in the forefront of the brain. But anyway, then I'll go ahead and write paid. And I try to remember to do this on the 24th when it happens. 502.77, and then I already did the math on that. It saves me $29 $0.81. And that's really not necessary for doing my total budget for end of the month stuff, but I just like to know that number within each category. So I look at how much I save total each month and how much I save within a category. So I like to do that, even though I know that it's going to be this much each month. I still like to see that I'm saving on my original budget. That makes me happy, so that's what I do. So then over here, I go ahead and write my budget for utilities. And we determined utilities and groceries based on my mom's budget for our 4-family home. That way, when I moved out, got married, to a 2-family home. But I have 4 things I have to keep up with in the utilities, and that would be Wi-Fi / internet / I do have a landline, but all one company package. So there we go. Water, electric, and cell phone. And I'm just going to round these numbers off of some numbers that I've done before, but that was 117.04. This was 43.38. This was 137.84, and this one was 40. And so once again, I go ahead and add those all up to get my paid category, and that was equal to 338.26, and I saved, compared to my total budget of $375, I saved $36.74. And that lets me reflect on how I'm doing within each category, because if I hit this, okay, but if I can save money on one of these areas, that's good too. I'm not really worried about water, cell phone usage, or anything like that. That one's pretty consistent. My big one's electric, but we've got to get our AC looked at, so I expect that to do better in the future. So that's that. And let me re-angle so we can see so far. And I know this isn't exactly even, but I'm just doing this the way I would normally do it. Now, these next numbers I'm going to put over here for groceries. I'm just going to kind of make them up a little bit, but that's okay. So let's say there's 4 weeks in a month. I'll go shopping about 4 times a month. Sometimes it's more, and I'll just write it all in this category, and it's okay. But for the sake of this exercise, let's say I spent $75 one day at the market, and then the next week, let's say I did the Walmart run, so 108. The next week, and I like to write them out to the sides because then I can see where my money's going. That way, if I've got like a lot of little Dollar General trips in here, which I've done before, I can say, got to cut that out. It keeps you honest when you're documenting where you're using your money. Then I have, let's see, this week we just wanted to run to the IGA because we were doing other errands. It was easy. And then this was a good stock up week at the Food Lion. So then I do same thing again. My total paid was $389.41, and then I'll see how much I saved in the grocery categories. Not as much, but this one we have some flexibility on too. If it's not just at 400, there's some flexibility. It's usually okay if it's a little more. And my husband is actually starting to work on these in his budget because he got a new job. He's making a little more money now. So he's going to take over groceries. That way I can put that much towards savings each month. So like I said, in the fall, my budget's going to look a little different, but that's why this is going to be shifting towards groceries, because he's going to handle that. But I'm still documenting it here for us to see. That might change. Now, what I do after this is I go ahead and draw a line, because now we have, they're still important, but they're not as the big ticket item categories. So my first one I put over here is gas, because gas money happens. When Dad and I wrote my original budget, we didn't have a gas category because we said, okay, all this should leave you enough left over for gas miscellaneous savings and you're set. But I go ahead and record it so I can say where my money's going. Now, since quarantine and it's the summer and I'm a teacher, I have not been doing a lot of driving, so it might be like every other week that I have been going to get gas. So it might be, say, maybe it was 21 here, maybe 25 here. I'm just making something up that's pretty close. I have a Ford Fiesta, so I don't spend a lot in gas money. So there we go. We'll say that was it. And then let's put a miscellaneous category, because stuff always happens that you don't account for in your regular budget, but I like to track where it goes. Originally, I wasn't doing this. I was just lumping stuff in I bought with groceries, but you can't do that. Like next month, I'm going to the dentist. This month, let's say that it was towards the end of June and we went ahead and bought fireworks, and I'm just making up a number here. My husband bought them, not me, so this isn't what was spent on them, but for the sake of this, there's always something. In May, we had Mother's Day. I bought my mom some stuff. So there's always stuff that comes up that really isn't groceries, that if that extra was over here, I would be worried like what happened, but I want to know. So I'm going to put fireworks. And like I said, I label what I spend my money on so that I know. Okay. After I do that step, I write myself a reminder note. Like I did up here in red that this has to happen. Each month I have to save for yearly, hang on, that's not focused, for yearly taxes. So when I first got the house, we tallied it up how much my taxes were for a year and said, okay, I have to put aside at least this much per month, $159, in order for me to be ready to pay taxes at the end of the year. So when I do my next section where I'm tallying up how much is left, we'll take this into account as well, because I have to be aware of that each month the same way I have to be aware of this. That way I don't hit December and go, oh no. Okay, you have to keep up with your stuff, and that includes forethought. So let me draw my line, and this is what we do here. I am going to do my total spent, which will just be adding each category of paid together to see how much I spent total. And then I'll do remaining, how much did I have left of that budget, but then remaining without this, because I've got to like count that towards going towards taxes in my mind. So how much is really available to me to spend, not just is available in the numbers. So my total spent, when I added all this together, came out to $1,321.44. Okay, so then I have to write my remaining. And I just did this with a calculator to make it quick, but if you want to do that pen and paper, you can too. So I would take my total starting amount, that $2,000, minus this, and that left $678.56, which looks pretty good. But now I'll write available. But I don't just write available, because it's not like it's available to me to spend all this money. It is available for savings, because my husband and I were both building up our individual savings accounts. We're building up an emergency fund, and we want to save up for travel. So I'm not like, ooh, at the end of the month, I've got $600, let's go shopping. No, that's how much money I can put aside for my future and my life, okay? So once we subtract, now this is where this comes in, because remember, this isn't available. It's being put aside for taxes. I have to do this minus taxes is how much I really have. And I work these out ahead of time. $119.56. And like I said, these aren't exactly, and this is just my scratch where I did it all over previously, so excuse that. Like I said, this isn't perfect yet, and these aren't my real numbers because I'm just not comfortable putting some things out on the internet, but it's got enough realism that you can kind of see how I come up with stuff. And what I do is then when I go through my checkbook and I check off on everything that I've spent, I will, at the end of that, staple this to my bank statement for the month. That way I can keep up with it. So I hope you found that helpful. Feel free to go back, rewatch it, pause, go through it step by step if you want to use this as an example with kids about budgets and why saving money is important. Do it, because I know when I was little, if you said $2,000, it would have been like, whoa, so much money. But the reality is, regardless of what number you start with, it goes quick in this world. So, and like I said, that's just me rounding it up. That's not my exact number that I'm making. So, but hopefully this gave you a good idea of how it's really not that complicated to keep up with what you're spending. And then you can look at it, you can reflect on it, you can see where you can cut back, and it can help you work towards your goals. So use this as a tool to help you. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you have suggestions, I'm learning to adult as well, so leave suggestions down below for me. I'll take them. But anyway, remember to like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, share with friends, do all the things. And I hope this helps you out. So long from the Little Greenhouse.